What's going on YouTube? So of course Honda has a very extensive lineup of crossovers, and this Passport is basically the middle child among those. Now the Passport has been refreshed for 2022, and Honda sent us this new trim level called TrailSport to test out for the past week. So is this the rugged midsize SUV for you? Let's go ahead and find out. So let's get things going here by talking about the exterior design, which of course is one of the most noticeable things you'll see new with the refreshed 2022 Passport. So right here in the front, you've got a substantially different look because we have a nice squared off grille. This is kind of like what you see on also the refreshed Ridgeline, just gives it a meatier and tougher look. Now, a couple of the trim levels were eliminated during this refresh, and then Honda added the TrailSport. With the TrailSport model, this of course is going to be the most rugged in the lineup. That's going to have this black accent along the top. It's going to have the gray finish and the honeycomb design through there. And of course you've got your TrailSport branding in the grille itself. As we move down the face, you have kind of a thick black cladding area. You've got this faux skid plate down here on the bottom. And in terms of your ground clearance, you're looking at pretty good ground clearance. It's going to be 8.1 inches with the all-wheel drive model. It's not actually more for the TrailSport, but it is good in general. Now let's turn our attention up here to our headlights. You are going to have a partially LED headlight unit across all of the models. I say partially because only the low beam is LED. Actually, the high beam is going to be incandescent. Over here, you're going to have the LED daytime running light that runs around this black piece of trim. And then you've got separated on the lower fascia a turn signal indicator, and then the TrailSport and above will come with the LED fog lights. Now as we move on to the wheels, of course you have brand new options for 2022 across the entire lineup. Here with the TrailSport, of course, this is going to have the most rugged design. These are 18-inch, gray finished alloys with the contrast design. They're also wrapped in special Firestone Destination tires, which are a little bit more rugged and tough than the standard models, which are both of the other trim levels will come with 20-inch alloys instead. Rising up here to our mirrors, you are going to have standard heating as well as standard blind spot monitoring built into this pillar here. With the TrailSport, you'll also get the black finish on the mirrors. And then if you want auto dimming, you would have to upgrade all the way to the Elite trim level.
All right, guys, let's go ahead and talk about some of the side elements for the Passport. So in terms of overall length, you're looking at 190.5 inches, which is a pretty good length for this segment of vehicle. I think it actually is a little bit larger than the vast majority of it. Now, as far as some of the design elements, we're looking at some blacked out window surrounds. We also have these really tall roof rails, which kind of gives us a nice off-road vibe to it. Then if we head around to the rear design for the Passport, those of you that as we said in the front, is that this is a refresh year for the Passport. So you're going to have a few different elements going on, but the rear is going to be mostly the same as the previous generation elements of the Passport. So you're just going to be looking at some black trim going through here. That is going to have a nice matte finish for this TrailSport trim level. And then if you look at your taillights, these are going to be partially LED. The brake light component itself is LED. However, our turn signal is going to be incandescent. If you drop down, you will notice that we have some blacked out branding. You have your TrailSport badge here on the right side. And then for the lower area, we will have this silver piece for the TrailSport to give it a little bit more of an off-road vibe. Rugged matte black plastic around the exhaust pipe areas. This is your reverse light. And then the exhaust pipes themselves are actually going to be quite large. As you can see, here's my hand for reference. These are a lot larger than you might expect out of a Passport. I think it sets off the overall design. Then as far as your tow rating, you're looking at 3,500 pounds for the front wheel drive model or 5,000 pounds for the all-wheel drive model. All right, guys, now it's time to talk about your warranty and safety information for the Passport. So Honda has made it pretty easy on me for the safety information. They're including every single one of them as standard equipment. So that means you're going to have forward emergency braking and pedestrian detection, lane keeping assist, as well as auto high beams and adaptive cruise control. Now for your warranty information, you're looking at Honda's signature warranty, 3-year 36,000 mile basic warranty, 5-year 60,000 mile powertrain warranty. But guys, that's going to wrap up the exterior design of the refreshed Passport. Now let's go ahead and check out the interior, see what Honda has done in there before we take it out and test drive.
So walking up to the Passport, as you can see, you do have a standard smart entry system with Honda's typical key fob as well as remote start built into the fob itself. And then walking up to the vehicle, just grab behind the handle, it will unlock. Let's go ahead and climb inside here. Step in height is no problem for a relatively short person. Now before we get into the overall cabin itself, let's first talk about our material and color choices as always. So you are going to have standard leather on every version of the Passport for 2022 because of the elimination of those lower end trim levels. Because of that, you've got basically black and gray options on most of your trim levels. However, here with the TrailSport, this is the model that's going to come with black only. And as you can see, we have special stitching details, so that you're going to have orange accents all throughout the seats as well as throughout the rest of the cabin. We also have the special embroidered TrailSport branding up here in the headrest. And as far as the seats themselves, let me just say they are extremely comfortable. We took this on a long road trip earlier in the week, and really just super comfortable. You don't feel any fatigue after a long drive. And of course, the leather quality is quite nice. You have perforation right there in the middle as well. Now turning over to the seat controls, you're going to have a 10-way power adjusting seat with 2-way lumbar support. That's going to be standard on all the models. And looking at our door trim, we're going to notice the same leather up here. It's going to have the orange stitching duplicated right there. A padded material along the middle as well as along the top. And we have a faux aluminum accent through there. We've got the dark finish on the door handles, and we do have the 2-person memory seating as well as 2 fully automatic windows, and the back ones are not automatic. Moving on to the upper part of the dashboard, we have a nice soft touch plastic with the stitching detail. As we move down, we've got that faux aluminum trim that runs through here for this TrailSport model, as well as along this part. And there's not going to be any leather padding or anything along the console, but everything does fit together extremely well and feel very, very solid in that typical Honda way. Now, of course, to start up, put your foot on the brake and press the standard push button start. And taking a look here at our gauge cluster, this has that typical Pilot Passport Ridgeline affair, which uses a 7-inch display right there in the middle and some analog gauges out there on the outside edges. Of course, you can switch between all kinds of information that you want to put in there, including navigation and audio stuff, as well as safety information. And then as we pull back here, rain sensing wipers are going to be reserved for just the elite trim level. However, on this TrailSport, you do have windshield wiper heaters. Now, as we pull back to the steering wheel itself, as you can see, we do have a nice leather wrap steering wheel. It's got the perforated leather over here on the sides, as well as that orange stitching for the TrailSport model. The wheel itself would be heated if you go for the fully loaded elite trim level. And then all the models will have a manual tilt-in telescoping steering wheel. But just like with the Pilot, the Passport has a very, very versatile cabin. So let's go ahead and take a look at our interior storage situation. So, of course, one of the things that we have are these floating armrests. These may not be the most fashionable things, but they are very comfortable to use when you're driving on a long highway road trip. You can just kind of rest your arm here. Of course, you can also get them out of the way, and then you've got all this storage where you can stick anything you want just kind of on top of this bin, or we can go inside of this bin, which is absolutely gigantic. It goes all the way seemingly to the floor. And as you can see, even with a bunch of stuff already in there, the coupons are no match for this. So this is absolutely humongous. Up in front of that, we've got 2 cup holders. Does have ambient lighting around the outside edges as well. You've got a little storage shelf right there. You've got all types of storage over there in the door trims as well. And then you have this large pad here, which is a standard wireless phone charger on all of the models. Now, as we pull back to the shifter, you do have Honda's electronic push buttons shifter. It's very easy to get used to. You're just going to press the D for drive. You can press once again if you want to activate sport mode. You do have paddle shifters on the steering wheel, and then you can pull the trigger to go into reverse. When you go into reverse, you're going to be greeted with this standard backup camera. It does have active trajectory. You also have 3 different views that you can choose between, like so. And you also have standard front and rear parking sensors. Then of course the P is for park, but you will notice you don't have an electronic parking brake. You actually have the older style foot activated one. But returning back over here, press that button there, that's going to be your drive mode. So of course, being a more off-road focused vehicle such as this, you're going to have a few additional ones. So you've got normal, you have snow, you have mud, and you have sand modes. And then that button right there will turn on and off your auto start stop system. Now moving on up from that, we come to our climate controls. So Honda does actually include a 3-zone automatic climate control as standard equipment here on the Passport, so it's a pretty nice touch. You're just going to adjust your temperatures, of course, with these nice toggles there. All the controls are physically located, and then you can click this button here to make adjustments to the rear climate control, turn that on and off, and whatnot. There are not controls actually themselves in the back seats. We also have 3-stage heated seats. That's going to be included as standard equipment, but if you want seat ventilation, that's going to be on just the Elite trim level. And let's go on up here and take a listen to the audio system. So the EXL as well as this TrailSport have the 215 watt 7-speaker sound system. So we'll go ahead and give it a sample. So overall sound quality is decent. It's not going to blow you away or anything, but I did fiddle with the settings enough to make it sound pretty decent for most types of music that I listen to. Of course, you can go up to the Elite trim level if you want a little bit better of a sound system. That's going to be 540 watt 10 speaker premium sound system. Alright, and let's take a look here at our display. So this is going to be an 8-inch display. It is standard equipment. As you can see, you've got some shortcut buttons along the side here. And then as far as the display itself, it is going to be running the newest version of the Honda Link software. So you've got these tiles here. It's pretty easy to use. You'll notice a few features from the Pilot as well as the Odyssey, like your social playlist settings. But otherwise, this is pretty much your typical Honda system. We do have the built-in navigation system. This is a Garmin navigation system. So graphics are just okay. Nothing special. And then, of course, you do have both Android Auto and Apple CarPlay for most of your navigating needs. Just be aware there's no USB-C ports in this cabin, which is something that kind of backfired on us on our short road trip. Nobody in the car had a USB-A connection for their phone, so we couldn't use either of those systems. Just something to be aware of. Now up above that, we do have an auto-dimming mirror with HomeLink universal remotes. That's standard on all of the Passports. And also standard on all Passports is going to be this standard size sunroof. As you can see, it does open up. We've got the wind buffer right there. And then you also have a sunglass holder as well.
Well guys, come on back here in the Passport TrailSport's rear area. Now, if you've watched any of our other Passport videos, you probably have seen just how spacious it is in the rear area. There is so much space. So let's go ahead and discuss those figures first, and then we'll hop into some of the individual features. So first of all, we're looking at 39.6 inches of rear legroom, 40.1 inches of rear headroom. Look at this headroom figure, guys. Honestly, it feels a little bit bigger than 40.1 inches because there's just so much headroom. That does best most of the competition in terms of the headroom. The legroom is right on par with the competition. But as you can see, I'm 5'9", Drew's 5'8". This is a seating adjustment. There is lots of space, guys, so certainly going to be very comfortable. I also want to point out that you can slide the seats forward and back. Not really sure why you'd want them slid forward more. I guess maybe if you need more cargo capacity in the rear area, and you can also recline the seats as well. Now, let's go ahead and talk about some of the features that you're going to get. Thankfully, you do have some rear vents back here. On a hot day like today, it's certainly very nice to have your rear vents. One thing I am seeing, though, is no climate controls. So unlike something like a Honda Pilot, no climate controls right here. You're just going to have the little hole. And then down below that, we have our household style outlet. And pop it open, there we go. There's a household style outlet. You also have 2 charging USB ports as well. I also want to point out, heated rear seats are going to be Elite exclusive, so you will have to go for that top end trim level if you want heated rear seats. Now let's go ahead and turn to your door trim. So for your door trim, on the upper part is going to be hard touch, unlike the front. However, we do have a nice leather wrapping on most of the other parts, including where your arm will rest. We have 2 big cup holders up in the front, more storage down below that. So lots of usable storage space in the rear of this Passport. Plus, we're also going to have rear window sunshades. That's going to be included if you go for a TrailSport trim or higher on the Passport. Now, walking up to your tailgate area, we do have a power one. A power tailgate is actually going to be standard equipment on every single Passport model. If you go for the Elite model, that will throw in the foot activation, though. Now let's go ahead and talk about the space you're going to get in the Passport. My oh my, look at the cargo capacity back here. This is an incredible amount of space, guys. You're looking at 41.2 cubic feet of cargo capacity behind the second row seats. If you fold those seats down, you're going to have 77.9 cubic feet, which is a really large amount of space. As you can tell, that actually the vast majority of the competition, I'd be hard-pressed to find anything within this segment that has that much cargo capacity. It's just enormous, guys. Now, let's go ahead and talk about some of your features. We have a nice carpeting along the floor. If we lift up the cargo floor, you will have even more space up underneath of here, so if you need to hide something from view, you can put it under there. Off to the left side, we have a 12-volt power outlet. Then you're also going to notice these right here. These are the buttons to electrically fold the second row. It's, of course, not power folding, but I do like that Honda has included the buttons to just electrically fold them down really fast and easy, so if you need to load something in, you can do so with ease. Now your passenger seat will be power adjusting on this TrailSport model. If we pop open the glove box, you will notice a pretty good size one. Pretty much the same glove box that you'd find in a Pilot, which does mean that we can put in any of our coupons. So if you want a 2 for $7 bacon, beef, and cheddar sandwich, there you go, throw it right on in. Up top, we got sun visor, we got some mirrors as well as a lighting, and then you can also extend it out as well as detach it. Up to 60 miles an hour in the refreshed 2022 Honda Passport TrailSport. So as you can probably tell from that acceleration, we don't have any 4 cylinders under the hood, no whiny, groany 4 cylinders. You have a big, smooth V6 under the hood of this Passport. It's going to be a naturally aspirated 3.5 liter V6, incredibly smooth engine, making 280 horsepower, 262 pound-feet of torque. And as you can see with that acceleration there, performance is pretty good. 280 horsepower out of the segment is solid horsepower rating. 262 pound-feet is also a pretty solid rating. And I think you're definitely going to enjoy just the overall smoothness of having that V6 growl, especially when you put your foot down.
Yeah, for sure. And just a nice smooth power. You know, we talked about this a little bit earlier, but we took this on a road trip. We actually drove this from Detroit back to Lexington here, so pretty extensive highway drive, and you know, you have plenty of passing power on the highway, plenty of power when you merge onto the highway. You know, we'll talk about it a little later as well, but pretty good efficiency also.
Yeah, and that's just something I really love, is just the nice V6 growl when you put your foot down, and also the 9-speed automatic transmission behaves really, really well in this Passport. It's a very smooth transmission. It just blends right into the background. Most of the time you can't feel any shifting whatsoever, but when you put your foot down, it's very quick to shift gears. I have noticed that it does it kind of in stages, so unlike like some of the 10 speeds, it doesn't drop like 4 gears at a time. In that acceleration, it kind of went down 3 gears at a time, but overall it gives you your power exactly when you need it. And like Drew said, perfect for highway cruising.
Yeah, and if you're familiar with this transmission, you know that in some of the past years with the Pilot and other applications, it's had some complaints, but they've definitely retuned this, and it's gotten better and better each year, and it really does a pretty good job here in this 2022 Passport. Additionally, power is going to be put to the ground, front-wheel drive or optional all-wheel drive for the EXL. You're going to have standard torque vectoring all-wheel drive for both the TrailSport as well as the Elite trim level.
Though it is time to talk about just your overall comfort level in the Passport, because we're nice on a flat highway here, and this is really what we've been doing the vast majority of the 7 days that we've had the Passport. We took it on a nice road trip, and I think this is really where this vehicle shines the most, is just how comfortable it is. It's incredibly comfortable. These seats are awesome up here in the front. You may or may not like the minivan style armrest, but dang, these guys are comfy. Yeah. You can adjust however you want, and it is just really comfortable overall. I mean, it is perfect for like a trip. I mean, what do you think, Drew? I mean, it's just really good.
Oh yeah, I mean, it was supremely comfortable out on the highway. It absorbs bumps so well. The TrailSport has even smaller wheels and tires that absorb even more than the regular Passport. And I think this is just really one of the characteristics that makes the Passport stand out even from the other comfortable rivals. This is probably the most comfortable in the class, if you ask me. We can go ahead and also get a sound level reading as we kind of go around this corner, and we'll check that out. So we're getting 54.7 decibels at 55 miles per hour on this highway, and that definitely supports the feeling that we've had this week. It's nicely insulated in here, which keeps things nice and quiet.
Alright guys, and it is time for us to do our slam dunk and airball for the Honda Passport. The slam dunk, I think, has to clearly be just the overall comfort and space that this Passport has. I think it really knocks that out of the park. You can throw 5 people in here very comfortably, put all of their belongings in here, and just cruise down the highway. This is like a perfect vacation machine if you don't need the third row.
Right, very much a smaller version of the Honda Pilot. Now, in terms of the airball, actually kind of has to do with that in the sense that the Pilot has been around for a while, and this Passport has the same exact cabin as that, meaning it is definitely a little outdated at this point. You're missing some of the modern features that the rivals have, and some of the modern luxury that the rivals have.
There goes our auto start stop. As you can see, that was a very quick take back off, which normally throws kind of the car through a little bit of a pickle if it turns off and right back on. And this actually has a really good, smooth auto start stop. You can barely feel it at all when it turns on and off. Yeah. And it also stays off for a pretty long time.
Right, it's one of the ones that you don't have to get in and turn it off every single time you get into the cabin, which is some cars you really want to do that. But on that note, let's talk about fuel economy. So our official EPA rating is going to be 19 city, 24 highway, 21 combined with the torque vectoring all-wheel drive. If you choose that EXL with front-wheel drive, you're going to bump that up 1 mpg combined. More useful for you might be real-world fuel economy. So in terms of what we've been getting, we did, of course, the long road trip on the highway, so that is most of what we were driving. We're getting 25 on the highway in the real world. Now that we've been back here in the city for a few days, that has decreased to 24, but as you can see, that really keeps it pretty good fuel economy actually for a V6 SUV, and right in line with that EPA estimate. And last but certainly not least here, let's go ahead and talk about the pricing situation. So as I noted at the beginning, Honda did eliminate that base sport trim level with the refresh. So that does mean that the base price starts at EXL and is going to be a good deal more expensive, about $5,000 more expensive actually. So starting price is going to be $37,870. This TrailSport with standard all-wheel drive is $42,470, and the Elite's going to top out the lineup at $45,430. And in terms of this specific example, we do have just an additional $395 for the paint. $1,225 destination is going to take you to just a touch over $44,000.
So guys, what do we think overall about this refresh 2022 Honda Passport? Well, certainly there are some elements of this Passport that are a little bit dated at this point. However, in a lot of areas, this Passport does a really exceptional job, and I think this vehicle is really made for someone who is going to be less concerned about like the highest technology and the newest features and stuff, and more concerned about a really smooth V6 engine, a ton of space, and a lot of comfort for your family. Well guys, thanks so much for watching this in-depth review of the 2022 Honda Passport TrailSport. If you enjoyed watching this or found it helpful in your purchasing decisions, please hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't already. It truly helps us out. It helps us to give you all better content. So please go ahead and do that. Also, tell a friend and a family member, and follow us on TikTok and Instagram if you really want to do all of the things, because that has shorter form content that you might also be interested in. Anyway, we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.